Everybody, welcome to tonight's Plan Commission meeting. Roll call, please.
Banks? Caprillion?
Here.
Pinker?
Here.
Wood?
Here.
Rosendich?
Here.
Mayor McManus?
Here.
And Alderperson Hendler is absent.
All right. Is there a motion from the commission to approve the minutes of May 21, 2019? Motion by Mr. Wood, second by Mrs. Banks. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, citizens' comments. Anyone from the public wish to address the commission? Anyone from the public? Seeing none at this time, we'll go on to item number 5, conditional use request by Terry Barbie to allow for an exception to exceed the maximum residential accessory building square footage limit with the total area exceeding 1,200 square feet and the footprint of the first floor area of the home, and for an exception to the maximum height of an accessory building located at 204 South Wisconsin Avenue, parcel 3302427, zoned SR3, single-family residential. Presenter, Evan Munson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you just stated, this is a conditional use request for an accessory structure to be a little bit bigger than what we have currently in our limits for permitted by right, and then it'll also be exceeding the maximum height for an accessory structure. As you can see on this lovely location map, this is the location of his property. Currently has an attached existing garage and then a detached shed in the back of the yard. Terry's looking at doing some future renovations to this house that would include converting the existing attached garage into dwelling space, although I believe that'd be in for a couple more years if I understand correctly. In the meantime, though, this summer he'd like to build a new detached garage, though, as shown on the map there at the end of the existing driveway. This year, he would like to construct the new garage. It would be about 22 feet in height approximately. There'd be parking space for 2 stalls and then a storage space above that. Until the existing attached garage is converted into dwelling space, though, once this new detached garage is constructed, it would then have all the accessory space on the property exceed the footprint of the house and exceed the 1,200 square foot limit. So for this conditional use request, we're looking at an exception for both the space and the height of it. In this table, we kind of walked through the different square footages for each item. The existing house is 714 square feet in size for the footprint. The attached garage is currently 374 square feet. And then with the attached shed, that's another 108 square feet. The proposed detached garage comes out to 720 square feet. So combine that with the existing accessory space, you'd be looking at a total of 1,202 square feet. It'd be a little bit more than the house footprint and just 2 feet over the 1,200 square foot limit. Comes out to about actually 488 square feet as shown on there. Once the existing garage space is converted into dwelling space, though, you would then be under the future house footprint by 260 feet. So by granting this exception, you'd have a couple of years to convert that into living space. And then once it is converted, it would be permitted and permitted by right. This are the plans for the structure. The bottom is a site map, shows the setbacks and everything. The structure would exceed all requirements for setbacks. It would be 10 feet off the south property line, quite a ways from the rear and the front. We set back about, I believe, 70 feet from the front property line, so quite a bit back from the street. The existing garage is pretty much out of sight from the street, so this one you would see, so there'd be a little bit of a difference from before. On the top is the elevation view as well as a floor plan for the garage. Our recommendation would be to approve the conditional use request with the following conditions. Minor site plan adjustments can be administratively approved. Total allowable accessory space for the overall property is permitted to hold 1,202 square feet, and then that the maximum height of the proposed detached garage is permitted to be up to 22 feet.
Thank you. This item does require a public hearing. At this time, I'll open up the floor to members of the public that would like to address the commission regarding this request. Does anyone from the public wish to address the commission? Second call? Final call? Anyone from the public? Seeing no one, we will close the hearing and will entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Mr. Pinker, second by Mr. Wood. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, conditional use request by Tim Holbrook to amend a condition a previously approved conditional use permit to allow for the access from East McMillan Street to be used for non-emergency purposes located at 1802 and 1810 North Hume Avenue, parcel 250-2603-333-0969, zoned MR12 multifamily residential. Again, presented by Evan Munson, Associate Planner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As stated, this is another conditional use request. This one is to amend a previously approved conditional use permit from back in 2013. This is a location map of the property. It's a little old. I think the image is from 2015, but there's 5 multiplexes on the property as of now. It's the Garden Ridge Apartments. If you drive by, I think there's a nice little sign that points it out, but the request is to change the access off of East McMillan Street as shown on the map from emergency only to being used all the time by traffic. This is an actual site plan of the fully developed lot. Currently, there is an access off of North Hume that the residents can use. The request is hoping that they would like to change the condition of the access on East McMillan there on the left side into full-time used access. This is another couple pictures of the area right now. There's 3 lanes of road, and then it kind of converts into 2 right around that access point. A little bit of background information. After discussions with staff in a neighborhood meeting, the multiplex development was approved back in 2013 with a conditional use request for Resolution 2013-53. There were a number of conditions added to that CUP to alleviate concerns neighbors had at the time. One of the conditions was to restrict the access off of East McMillan as emergency only, and that was in order to deal with issues that there was potential issues of vehicles competing with each other turning at that intersection. East McMillan has remained the same since that date in 2013. Since then, North Hume has also extended further north. There's also development going on further to the north as well. Staff received a complaint last winter about residents were using the access. The property manager wasn't really aware of the conditions of the resolution. They had opened it up. Residents weren't really wanting to compete with construction vehicles doing work on North Hume Avenue at that point. The owner would now like to amend said resolution, noting that opening the access would aid both with snowplows navigating the property and would aid for residents using the property, as it would give them a second additional access. Staff would support allowing the access to be opened up for snowplows to aid with snow removal operations. The original condition of limiting the access to emergency only was to deal with concerns of traffic from the development turning on and off of East McMillan Street. The original concern still remains, as the layout of East McMillan has remained the same since then. Get to my next slide here. We had discussions with Public Works Department, and that concluded that we would like to keep the access and should remain as is until East McMillan is widened in the future. Future development in the area could result in the addition of a 3rd lane, either designed as a turning lane or a raised median. As of right now, as shown in the pictures, it's kind of like a 3rd lane, but it transitions pretty much right around there into a 2-lane road, and then it continues 2-lane all the way until Galvin. So, given the layout of the street is unchanged, staff feels there is not enough evidence showing that the original concerns no longer exist that the condition was meant to deal with. The original condition of limiting the access to emergency only was to deal with concerns from the traffic of the development turning on and off of East McMillan Street. Given that evidence or lack of evidence, staff is recommending that we would approve a conditional use request with the condition that the access from East McMillan Street be used for emergency vehicle access only and snowplows only, and shall be marked as such with posts and a rope or chain restricting vehicle access.
Thank you, Bryce. This item does require a public hearing. At this time, I'll open up the floor to members of the public that would like to address the commission regarding this request. Anyone from the public wish to address the... Hang on, Jeremy, if you could just head up to the... State your name and address for the record.
Jeremy Faber, Faber Construction. Earlier this winter, with that being open, it was a lot easier to take care of the snow removal there. just the way it's designed, it was just easier to drive through, keep it all open. It'd be safer for emergency vehicles and stuff. So, just thought I'd comment on it. So, I personally think it'd be great if it stayed open. I don't think it would cause any issues. I don't think everybody that lives there will use that exit. So, that's it.
Thank you. Anyone, a second call? Anyone else from the public wish to address the commission? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address.
My name's Larry Meisner, and I live at 1612 East McMillan, and I live right across the street. And where that V comes in there with the third lane, my driveway is just up from there, and it's only like maybe two and a half car lengths. And I use that transition area to get in and out of my driveway. And I'm against opening that because I've almost been hit 5 times since it was opened in the fall. One time was when I backed into the transition area to go west, and somebody was coming down the transition area head on right at me. So I had to quickly move out of the way, and they didn't swerve, they went into the driveway. The second time, I had same thing. The person was coming directly at me. I couldn't do anything to get any other lane because there was traffic going west on McMillan. So I just sat there, and they swerved and missed me, and then they swerved behind me and almost took my back end of my truck off. So I'm totally against it. And then there's 2 other times when the snow removal was out there. The street was slick. I backed out. My truck kind of slid into the oncoming lane. Of course, I look all the time going for people coming from the east going west. There was no one there. All of a sudden, as I got my car stopped, looked my rearview mirror, and someone's right on my bumper. How they didn't hit me, I don't know. But the only place they could have came from was from the complex. And the second time, so after that, I kept watching to make sure I didn't go into the other lane. I got into the transitional area, and I started to move, and all of a sudden somebody zooms by me in passing gear, because you can hear it going in passing gear. And I could have pulled out front and sideswiped them. So they have, I mean, I understand it's easy access for them, but it's a traffic hazard. It really is. And I don't agree that it should be open. They agreed to have that closed as a emergency exit only, and that was the condition of their permit to build. Now they're coming back after they built the stuff, and they want it open. To me, I think that's wrong. They agreed to the condition, and now they want to change because now they have their stuff built. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Final call. Anyone else from the public? Please, sir, go to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Oops, it don't move so well. Good evening. My name is Richard Cram. Josh, I'm sure you know me. Our property is near right across from this entrance. The best thing, the way to summarize, is from somebody who lives right there that is the closest to this, okay? I agree with Larry. We agreed to everything that the city and the developer wanted to have the complexes put up, and they're there and in place. I was going to read off of this, but I pretty much know what I want to say. The most difficult part, backing out of our driveway where we live. No matter what vehicle we drive, my wife has a full-size pickup truck. I have a full-size rear-wheel drive car. Both of these vehicles, the closer you get to the road, the amount you can see diminishes. You cannot see anything out of the rear view mirror or the side view mirrors. It just disappears. We are as careful as we can be. When it comes to backing out, we have to put most of our focus on the traffic on McMillan itself. And Josh, you know, it's heavily traveled, not 24 hours a day, but it's a heavily traveled street. One thing I didn't understand, We waited out the construction process, which took 3 years. We were very patient, very cautious. We still had to deal with not just those involved in the construction, but those who were living in the completed buildings at the time. Like Larry said, people come out of nowhere out of that place. They have no understanding that our visibility is nil when we get to the end of our driveways. I patiently waited, and I called Josh, and he said, yes, it would be took care of. At the time, you can't have everything all in place right away, so they put sawhorses up to block the access. But some of the residents there, probably not living there anymore, I'm not sure, didn't want to deal with that. They moved the sawhorses and still went in and out of that was to be closed entrance. For what reason it was open all winter long, I understand that the new construction was going on. I go east every day to work. I saw how much traffic there was, employees, workers parking there. They needed it. I can understand that access being opened up. Why it was open all winter long, and Mr. Faber, I understand. I see what you do, and I agree with that portion. That makes your snow removal easier. But I wasn't expecting an explanation why it was open all winter long. And I think some of these folks got used to that, not maybe knowing about what was put in play. So as a resident, I speak for the neighborhood, promise was made that this was to be closed off. I just asked the city that they take what Larry and I have said into consideration and uphold the promise that they made to not just myself, but as everybody that lives in that area as a neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to address the commission? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and we'll entertain a motion to approve this conditional use request. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Pinker. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Caprillion. Discussion? Please, Josh.
I guess and I don't know if it was clear to the neighbors or what, but staff had offered to recommend this change with the change of not having the bollards required, but still having it restricted to emergency access only. So it would be like posts on either side in a chain, which would make it easier for snow plowing and easier to tell that it's blocked off. The bollards were a cone type thing that wasn't really what we were hoping. He basically met the intent, but it was not. Or he met what the requirement was, but it wasn't really the intent when we were drawing it up. But I think an emergency chain and stuff like that, would that work for what the neighbors are?
What you're saying is, if you want to head back to the podium, just so that the public watching can hear what you're saying.
So what you're saying is it will remain a restricted entrance.
Yeah, staff's recommending.
That was your recommendation.
Correct. Staff is recommending to keep it restricted to emergency, and then if they need to open it up while it's snow plowed and put it back.
I'm totally fine with that because you spent all that money to expand that other street down there for them to have a nice exit and an entrance and exit. You spent all that money. Why do you want to open that up and potentially have a car wreck there or two or three? Because they don't drive 25 down that street. I can tell you that now. They're always kicking in passing gear once they get past there. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and staff was supportive of the change only to remove the bollards, keeping it emergency, but removing the bollards and still keeping it, changing it from bollards to a chain and post.
And will that, from the safety concerns that they bring up, will that be enough to keep the quick in and out that I'm hearing takes place from?
Yeah, the chain
still full snowplow people will be able to.
Yes, it'd be locked, and then they'd have a key to open it up, and then they'd be able to.
Okay. Mr. Pinker.
On the resolution, it says that it's going to be marked. So, Josh, are we going to actually specify posting a sign that says emergency and snow removal vehicles only?
Yep,
so we've got that. We have the visual with the chain, but we also have the signage. So there can't be any mistake.
Yep, that's what, and I'm assuming that's what.
I'm not the greatest with eyesight, but if I can read it correctly, it says it shall be marked as such. So it would basically imply that it should be marked for emergency vehicle access and snowplows only, so.
Mr. Caprillion.
My only comment on this is more of an aesthetic question. I don't know how good a rope or a chain kind of hanging across a driveway looks. I mean, maybe we want to consider a gate, something more permanent looking, I guess, that could be opened by, again, you could use a key or a code or something that a snowplow or emergency vehicle could use. Just a thought. I don't have to look at it, but
Who would be, that is a very good point, who would be accountable to make sure that, yeah, go ahead. Who would be accountable to make sure that that chain is put back up? Because if somebody takes it down, then people might be, might view it as a quick access and someone's going to get hurt.
I take care of quite a few properties in the winter, and a lot of them just have a chain across them, and we just unhook them, plow it, put it back up. Nobody ever drives through them.
Okay.
Hilltop Park Apartments behind Menards has one. Stony River has a rear entrance. There's multiple locations where it seems like a chain works just fine. So.
Okay. And with what you've heard, for those of you that came to have an issue with this, does this safety precaution meet where you're at? Okay. Okay. All right, good. Anything further from the commission?
yeah, I'm with Jeremy on this. I can't imagine somebody getting out of their car and then unhooking the chain and then doing all that when you could just drive around the recommended entrance and exit. It's not a convenience thing at that point. So,
anything further? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Number 7. A rezoning request by Jeremy Faber to rezone the properties located at 3007 West Man Street, parcel 25-2602-253-1016. 3011 West Man Street, parcel 250-2602-253-1015, and parcel 250-2602-253-1014 from SR4, single family residential, to TR6, two family residential. Presenter Bryce Hembrook, City Planner.
Thank you, Mayor. So the applicant is planning on combining the 3 lots that you can see here in the location map. And he is planning to build 4 duplexes on this property. Since there will be more than one principal structure on the site, he would have to go through and review it as a group development. This would require coming back to the Plan Commission and then getting approval through Common Council. It is the plan to review that next month at the next Plan Commission meeting for the group. So in the comprehensive plan, this property is identified as being a medium density residential. This district is essentially intended for single and 2 family units with a recommended density of 3 to 10 units per acre. And also, depending on the Common Council approval next week, townhouses may be included with that definition of medium density residential. The density for the project will be approximately 5.07 dwelling units per acre. There are several different zoning districts. So here's a map of the future land use up on the screen. As you can see, the subject property is medium density residential, and to the east and west, it is identified as low density residential. To the northwest is the mobile home park that is high density residential, and then various other zoning districts. Or sorry, not zoning districts, but districts for the future land use plan. So there are several different zoning districts located in close proximity to the subject property. To the west and to the east, it is zoned SR4. To the east, there's a single family residence, and to the west, there is a vacant CBRF, or at least it appeared vacant last time I drove by last week. There is also TR6 to the south. Those are duplexes, and then MH8, which is the mobile home zoning district to the north. The majority of the surrounding land uses are single family residences, and then some institutional, some farmland, some 2 or 3 duplexes, and institutional land uses as well. So currently the 3 individual lots are not highly desirable because the 2 lots located along Man Street are they're larger lots, but they're narrow. And so they kind of present a narrow lot to build on for a single family, house. And the lot along Manville Lane does not have any connections to utilities and will likely not have any access to utilities in the foreseeable future. However, with the lots combined, the property is more suitable for residential development, mainly because the northern portion of what will become the lot will be able to receive utility access through being extended from Man Street. And I'm sorry if I didn't mention, the applicant will have to also combine the lots prior to the group development. The proposed development is located in an area that is identified as a future park acquisition area in the City of Marshfield Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan. The applicant will likely need to pay a parkland dedication fee of $1,600. This is because 8 dwelling units times 200 equals $1,600. And then pending on rezoning approval, this will be reviewed at the Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Committee meeting in July and the next Plan Commission meeting. There was one neighbor who voiced their opposition, so I will read a letter from the neighbor. So Randy Ganch, 3001 West Man Road, Marshfield, Wisconsin, wrote, quote, "We are requesting that the motion to rezone the property adjacent to ours to 2-family residential be denied. We are extremely concerned with the additional traffic that will be created with the possibility of 8 families living right next door in a lot no bigger than ours. You could potentially have 16 vehicles in and out of the road. We bought this house because of the location and because of the lot size. We have the city conveniences with a country feel. With this proposal, we will have a road on all sides of our property. We understand that this property is going to be developed. However, we had hoped it would continue to be residential single-family homes." And then with that, based on the proposal's consistency, and I'm sorry, I will go back. So here's a rough draft of what the group development would look like. As I mentioned, depending on this approval, this would be reviewed at the next Plan Commission meeting. And so this is kind of the plan that was drawn up. Now, this isn't the final site plan per se. So with that, based on the proposal's consistency with the comprehensive plan, staff recommends the Plan Commission approve the rezoning request by Jeremy Faber to rezone the properties located at 3007 West Man Street, 3011 West Man Street, and the parcel to the north from SR4, single-family residential, to TR6, 2-family residential, and to direct staff to prepare an ordinance for Common Council consideration.
Thank you, Bryce. This item does require a public hearing. At this time, I'll open the floor to members of the public who would like to address the commission regarding this request. Anyone from the public wish to address the commission? Second call. Anyone from the public? Final call. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Entertain a motion from the commission to approve. Motion by Mr. Rosendich, a second by Mrs. Banks. Discussion. Mr. Pinker?
Josh, Bryce, or Evan, this area is approximately 0.7 of a mile from a designated floodplain in Marathon County in the town of Spencer. Has that floodplain been extended to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay.
But I was not necessarily looking at that information.
And then, are there any implications for development of this property reference the Marathon County hazard mitigation?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Are there any implications for this development relative to the Marathon County hazard mitigation plan?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Any further questions? Seeing no further questions then, all those in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Number 8, alternative sign request by Stratford Sign Company for a projecting sign and exceptions locating at 201 and through 207 South Central Avenue, parcel 33-03213, zone DMU, downtown mixed use. Presenter Evan Monson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In a little change of pace from what we usually hear me talk about, this is an alternative sign. This is for the Deming Building downtown. It has a couple addresses on 201 through 207 South Central Avenue. It is at the location of the corner of East 2nd Street and South Central Avenue on the corner there. The Howards are planning on doing some new changes to the building. They're here in attendance to answer any questions, I believe that's correct. Part of the changes are they're adding some new signage to the property. It include 2 projecting multi-tenant signs. One would be on the front facade facing South Central to the west, and then another would be facing north on the facade facing East 2nd Street. I don't believe Chris drew this, but this is a kind of a nice rendering of kind of what they're basing their future designs off of. This was drawn up in 2018, I believe. It shows the 2 signs of kind of what they're looking at doing, and then some different facade work on the front of the building. This is the sign that they have since come up with in 2019. There's a sign administratively approved for the north side because it met all the sign requirements. This one was a little bit bigger than the max permitted size for a projecting sign, and there's a weird quirk that if you were to have tenants shown in the one multi-tenant sign, technically they wouldn't be able to be shown in the other one either, so that's another exception that would be covered under this permit. This sign is proposed to be approximately 45 square feet in size. The max size, don't have written down, but I believe it would be 35 usually for a projecting sign. Staff wouldn't have any issues granting either of the exceptions for this sign, provided that the sign meets the clearance requirements and does not extend higher than the roof line. As shown, it would meet both of those requirements. As a result of that, staff would recommend that the Plan Commission approve the alternative sign permit request to allow for the projecting sign to be built with exceptions. The following conditions would also be proposed by staff: that 1, each tenant of the property is permitted to be shown each projecting multi-tenant sign simultaneously. 2nd, that the projecting multi-tenant sign be placed in the front facade facing South Central Avenue is permitted up to 50 square feet in sign area. And then 3rd, that the property is permitted projecting signs on the front facade for individual tenants in the future, provided they meet the requirements of the sign code.
Thank you, Evan. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Mr. Wood, second by Mr. Caprillion. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 9, update on the implementation committee.
Thank you, Mayor. So the committee has met once since the last update, which was last month. The committee has reviewed some of the projects that were mentioned, some of the recommended actions and goals that were listed in the comprehensive plan, and we went through and identified if they're in progress or if they've been completed. And with that, we only got about halfway through, and so tomorrow we're planning on meeting and kind of going over those the remaining goals and strategies tomorrow, and then by the next Plan Commission we should be able to report on some of that, some of the projects that we've been working on or have completed since the comprehensive plan was adopted in 2017. So we should have more at the next meeting. Any questions?
Questions from the commission? Does not look that way. All right. Thank you, Bryce. Item number 10, any items for future agendas?
Yeah. Would you like to go first?
Yeah. In the past, we'd talked about tiny houses, and I was kind of the one that was pushing that and looking at that perhaps relative to zoning. I don't know what the feeling is of the other members of the commission regarding that topic. But as one who was, say, a proponent of that, I would just like to bring that off the table for future items and take a look at doing some more research on the issue.
All right. Anything further from the commission? Bryce?
Yep. So on May 31st, the Marshfield Clinic, the health system turned in their campus master plan. It was due on June 1st, so they turned in a rough draft then. I'm currently taking a look at it and giving feedback on anything that they, might not have did for the zoning requirements, but for the most part, it looked pretty good. So we will be reviewing that in July. So we will finally be seeing a campus master plan from the clinic. We should have some representatives from both the consulting firm and the clinic as well. So we'll have that next.
Great. What is the date of the planning commission?
I believe the 16th.
16th,
Does that sound about right?
16th.
Correct. July 16th.
All right. Any staff updates? Anybody on staff getting married next month? No.
There's one.
One person?
We actually we have a fully staffed department now. Cheryl Ethmeyer, our administrative associate, 3 years retired Monday. So if you are coming in to see us, we've got a new staff person named Natalie. She'll be at the council meeting next month. But we're excited to have her. We miss Cheryl. Did a phenomenal job. We have a pretty new department, so look forward to moving on.
New beginnings.
Yep.
All right. No more for staff updates. Motion to adjourn. There's Mrs. Banks, Mrs. Rosendich. We are adjourned.